I'm John Shrek McPhee, the Sheriff of Baghdad. This is a special SOB podcast, and today we're talking, I can't even say it without laughing. We're going to talk about the debate. I'm with my man here, Ken. Ken's a repeat offender. Ken, tell guys a little about yourself. Say what's up.
What's up, everybody? I'm back again, repeat offender. Love coming on, talking to my boy John about the crazy shit happening in the world and our political climate, and as this thing fucking continues to evolve or devolve, chat it out, man. Just chat it out.
So, first and foremost, I'm just going to let the cat out of the bag. Complete fucking shit show. You know what I mean? Seriously, what the fuck did that help? You know what I mean? And look, I feel like this. The Democrats for years have been blaming you for everything they do wrong, right? Like their rubber, your glue bounces off them, sticks to fucking you. And this is literally their playbook for fucking decades, right? And that's where that Russian KGB guy is like, America is going to be run by useful idiots. And he's fucking right, but so I feel like Trump, in his years, everybody attacks him every fucking single day as a president. The media fucking hates him. Everybody hates him. Nothing he does is good enough, right? Even though the Democrats, look at the shit they do. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I feel like he has to be so defensive. I feel like he came off as a bully, right? And he should have let Sleepy Joe run his fucking mouth, because the long answers Sleepy Joe gave, I was like, wait a minute, what the fuck are we talking about? I think at one point in one of those answers, he digressed to Harriet Tubman to prove a point or something. And I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? And then he'd come back around to the answer and you're like, oh, that's what we were talking about? Well, that was a weird way to fucking say it, So I felt like, let Sleepy Joe run his fucking mouth. You know what I mean?
100%.
That's my initial impression. What do you think?
I felt the exact same way. Look, my thought going into this was I hope Trump argues the merit of his policies and the things he's accomplished, because those are easy to stand behind, and the media doesn't talk about it, and he's his best mouthpiece. So if he can talk about it and he can get people on board and get them educated on what he's doing, then he'll crush it, because Biden can't argue on the merit. Look, we all know fucking Sleepy Joe, he can't tie two coherent sentences together. And so if Trump had just let him talk and stumble over his own idiocracy, then he would have let him go. But I think Trump, to your point, because everyone kicks him in the nuts every single day, all day, he came out guns blazing, where I would have said, dude, argue the merit. Let Biden fumble all over his answers because he doesn't have any ground to stand on, and then chew him up. And then when he digresses and goes down some fucking rabbit hole about kid brushing his hair down on his legs by the pool, you can look at him and go, well, Joe, we're talking about, Middle East policy. Why are you talking about kids playing with their fucking leg hair? Right? Okay, Joe, if that's what you want to do, and then look at the camera what the fuck is going on, guys? You want to vote this clown into business? But the more Trump interjected and was just on top of Biden, the less opportunity there was for Biden to fumble all over his words, because all he had to do was go, he just had to shut up.
Right. Totally.
The less he says, the less danger he's in, right? And the more he says, the more it's just it's a target-rich environment for Trump that Trump didn't let evolve.
Right. Yeah, totally agree, right? And I feel like, and then if you would have just let Joe give the long answer, right, what I would have done with that when, the first couple long answers he gave, I was like, where are we going? How, what? And then I would have just, if I was Trump and I was going to interject, I'd be like, Joe, I have no idea what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
will you kind of clue me in here and let him run his mouth again, right?
Right.
But it felt like, Trump just had to defend himself, which he doesn't have to do. He's the fucking president, right? Like, he doesn't have to fucking do that anymore. He should have let Joe run his mouth. And it's bizarre because Joe said some fucking illuminating facts, right? Like, and Trump, because they were arguing, couldn't capitalize on those mistakes that Joe made. Like, did you hear he wants to raise the corporate tax to 28%?
Right.
Like, what? Raise fucking taxes? Are you, and then but the premise of what he said about the taxes was, it's a $4 trillion plan, but he's going to take in $1 trillion and more in taxes.
Right.
Like, what? Are you on fucking crazy pills here?
Yeah, which we know he is on crazy fucking pills.
Yeah. Well, no, he's on straight pills because he's trying to unfuck his crazy. You know what I mean? Like, he's on straight pills.
And Trump didn't bring up anything about, look, how about being nominated for 2 Nobel Peace Prizes?
Three
now?
3 nominations, yeah.
Dude, I mean, so Trump, because he was so focused on kick this ass, kick that ass, like every word, it's like, look, if you sit back and let this situation evolve, you can really drive home the fantastic things you've done, like the taxes, like the economy, like the Middle East peace agreements, and then 3 Nobel fucking Peace Prizes. Like, if you're so busy arguing the nuance of the minutia, then you're not going to talk to the overarching wins and strategies that you've accomplished, which in his list of accomplishments in 47 months, he's right about, I've done more in 47 months than you did in 47 years.
100% right.
But you gotta talk to those points and not just beat Joe up for it,
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, look, if I was Trump, I'd have a cut sheet of fucking raw data, and I would be just spewing raw data every time. Because if you spew raw data at Joe, what's his comeback of 47 years in the fucking government? Like, what I've learned from Trump is there's no such thing as experience running for fucking office. These guys don't know shit. Obama gave a town hall that said, when Trump was running, there's no way he's going to be able to create more jobs. It's fucking bullshit. And then he fucking does it, which tells me Obama had no fucking clue how to run a major business, which is fucking lacking in our government because it is a big business because they've taken a ton of fucking money and they're just hemorrhaging it like you fucking read about,
100%.
So I feel like the facts, he should have just fucking inundated, my website would only be facts. We did this, we did that, we did this, we did that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Crazy. Okay, so let's talk about some of the topics, right? What was the first topic? Do you remember? First topic they argued about?
No.
Supreme Court Justice.
Yeah, SCOTUS.
Yeah. I mean, this would have been easy for me. I would have been like, look, I'm not even going to talk for 2 minutes on this. Here's the fucking deal. You elected me. My term is up in January. I think I can get this done before the end of my term. This is fully within my job description. I'm executing. End of fucking questions.
Yeah, and the reality, 100%. And the other side to that is that I wish people would say is, look, it's a nomination. It's not an appointment. There's a checks and balances within the government to ensure that the right people get into those positions. So number one, it's within my remit, right? My remit. Right. I'm going to do it because it's my job. If the other government doesn't agree with me, then they won't confirm this person. But to your point, it's my job. The country has asked me to do these things, so I'm going to do them. It's the right thing to do because it is my job and I'm fulfilling the requirement. And if the other government that provide the checks and balances don't agree, it won't happen. Period. Right. Which we all know it will because the Republicans have the count in the Senate. But that's not his argument. His argument is my job is to do X and I'm going to execute against that to the best of my ability, which means I nominate the best person.
Right. If my job was to cut the grass, I'm not going to wait to cut the grass because you might be cutting it later.
And you may cut it different, so I'm not going to do it now.
Right. But the Democrats would do the same thing. And I'll tell you what was wrong with all of it is this is where, and I don't want to get into this yet, but they never forced Joe Biden to answer what he would do. He never answered about the Supreme Court. He said, I'm not going to answer. Like, Wallace pushed Trump for fucking answers, but never pushed Biden for answers. And I'll tell you, like, I'm not too happy with that fucking Wallace guy. Every time I hear him talk, I wonder why he's even on Fox.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because he's truly a fucking CNN reporter or fucking.
Just like Juan Williams is. Just like Juan Williams.
Yeah, totally. Right. So, but he never made Biden answer the question. A non-answer is not why we're here at this debate, you know?
Right.
So, but, you know, yeah, the Democrats want to wait because they think they're going to win and they want to appoint the Supreme Court judge. But the Republicans are in power and it's actually their job right now. Do your fucking job.
And I would have taken it further. I would have said, and if Biden or Hillary Clinton was in the office at this point in time, I would also expect them to do their job as they've been demanded to do. So the rules are the same for everybody.
Right.
And until you fire me, then I'm going to continue to do my job as I've committed to doing. Right. So,
look, check it out. Even if this happened January 14th and I was out of office on the 15th, I would still put in a nomination because it's my job until the last day.
Right. And then I would have done what Trump did and said, and the previous administration didn't do their fucking job because there were 127 federal courts that didn't have judges in them. I would have then gone into that. But the facts are, to your point very succinctly, I have a job to do. This is my responsibility and I'm going to do it. And the government checks and balances process will make sure that it's the right person. And then when Sleepy Joe chimes in about whatever it is he's going to fucking meander through, whatever thought process he's going to meander through, then I would have said, well, it's true. Maybe you would have done it differently because you and Obama didn't do your job because you left 127 federal judges seats empty, which is a complete disregard for your responsibility as a president.
Totally. Right. You wanted to appoint judges, you should have been doing it.
Yeah.
Well, hey, let's be honest. What did Sleepy Joe do as VP? He takes a lot of claim, but what the fuck did the guy actually do as VP? What did he do in the Senate? He gets richer every year, that's for sure.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I felt like the Supreme Court thing, this is a fucking simple answer, and anything this guy says is bullshit because if he was in my shoes, he'd do the same thing. No questions asked.
No question.
Him and Kamala Harris would not wait to appoint a judge, especially a Supreme Court judge.
No. And they didn't appoint the easy judges that don't need a Senate confirmation, right?
Right.
Let alone the difficult ones. So look, it's not even partisan, John. It's not even fucking partisan. You've got a job to do. Fucking do it. Your job doesn't end 5 months before you leave the job.
Right. Yeah, totally. Right. Yeah.
Come on. I mean, it's a silly argument. And I would have then gone in and attacked Biden on the attacks that Barrett is receiving. Being called a racist for adopting some kids from Haiti. Like, hey, I mean.
Yeah. The Clintons eat the kids from Haiti, right? She tries to raise them and like she's the bad guy. Like, what the fuck?
Right. And then they attack her. And then I would have gone after him for the left attacking Barrett for being a Catholic. And you're like, well, hold on. Like RGB was a diehard Jew, a diehard, like she was borderline like Hasidic Jew. I mean, that might be a stretch, but she was a really staunch Jew, which good for her, man. Like, you know, that's your thing. And as long as it doesn't weigh into your decisions as it relates to the Constitution, like live your life however you want to live your life and be a good person. But to attack Barrett for being Christian and it be okay that RGB was a Jew, it just further illustrates the left can't get their argument straight at all.
Yeah. Well, I would have hit Joe with that and been like, you guys are attacking her for being a Christian but Joe, aren't you a Catholic? Aren't you supposed to support people of similar faith? Because, there's one time where he was like, well, people look down on us poor Catholics. Like, well, you're looking down on her now as a poor Catholic on another Christian. Isn't that against some type of Christian rules? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, you can't speak out of both sides of your mouth, Joe, as much as you want to.
Right.
So
totally. Right.
It was, and that was one of the things where I thought Trump just failed at. And I think it's a symptom of, to your earlier point, him feeling like he's got to come out guns blazing because he's constantly getting kicked in the teeth, right? Where he just, when you're that defensive, then you're not objective in the way that you're coming across to make your points. You just kind of ramble.
Yeah.
Dude, you could say this really clearly and succinctly, not come across like a bully, and make some really great fucking points that you have everything in your power anyway. Like you have everything in your benefit here. So
right, because all these news organizations are going to go through after the debate and fact check everything that was said. Now, if Joe screws up and says some wrong stuff, right, they're not going to show that. But if you say wrong stuff, they're going to show that. But if you're just coming out point after point after point, fucking fact check it, have at it, right? Like, well, am I the liar? You know what I mean? But when you're just, when you're in that defensive zone, you're not thinking through moves ahead. And I feel like you can't attack Joe on everything, as much of a, douche he may be. You can't attack him on everything. You got to pick your argument, and you should have hammered him on stuff that he couldn't have an answer for. And then, explain, Joe, give him time to talk about some shit he don't even know about, right?
Right.
Because, Joe is listening to someone in his earpiece. There's no way Joe said all that off the cuff. No fucking way. Right?
No, because it was the best I've seen Joe Biden, to be honest with you. Like
ever.
And that bar isn't really high. Like he's kind of one of those guys that sets the fucking bar on the ground, right?
Well, that bar being low is why Trump looks like shit today.
Exactly. And he does. He does. Because he didn't let Joe look. This is where Joe loses. He loses when he talks. And if you don't let him fucking talk, then you're removing really great opportunities. Really great opportunities. And that's what didn't happen. So
I agree. I also think another thing I would have done as Trump is a lot of my sound bites would be, the whole time I was president, all my sound bites would be Obama direct quotes.
Yeah, we talked about that before.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, that's a problem. I mean, look, they didn't even get into immigration, which I was surprised.
The wall's obviously working.
Yeah, the wall's working, and Trump has huge support in the Hispanic community, predominantly in the southern states like Florida and like across that coast. They're conservative, right? Because the vast majority are conservative Christians. They like the immigration because they don't love Cuba and they don't love El Salvador and all these shitbird countries that they came from, right?
There's a reason why they left.
Yeah, they came here for a reason. And so they don't like the Bernie stuff. They don't like the Joe Biden stuff. And so, I think Trump that was an opportunity too that he missed, where he could have pulled that in and said, look, SCOTUS, with a nomination from SCOTUS, we can further the agenda on border security and immigration and really do it right and do it well. And I think a lot of people would have coalesced around that because it makes a lot of sense to people.
Right.
And to your point around the Obama stuff, he could have then parlayed into, hey, I wasn't separating families. As a matter of fact, the policies that were in place that you continue to berate, are fucking Obama policies that were in under you as the VP, as the head of domestic stuff here, Joe. That was your policies that you created. And so in order for us to fix this and work with ICE and do it properly, then we need to make sure that the Supreme Court is behind us and we can manage this appropriately.
Yeah, totally, right? Joe, tell me what you were thinking when you guys came up with the separating families in the cages.
Right.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. Yeah, and, you know, what's funny is I've realized over the years that these fucking politicians, they don't want any of these things solved because they know the ins and outs of the arguments. It's great. It looks great on the stage, but they're never fucking solving any problems.
Right.
You know what I mean? We never solved, you know, it's 2020. We couldn't have solved immigration by now, for reals. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, so, yeah, the whole thing is just like never-ending talking points, you know. It's crazy to me, you know. Another thing they brought up was Roe versus Wade, abortions, right? Like,
right. And Trump says, that's not on the ballot. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's not on the ballot. Yeah.
Yeah. No one's talking about that, Joe. So why do you think that's being attacked? Where did you dream that up? Hey, let them talk, right?
Right.
But
right. Have you seen this ballot? I haven't seen these ballots. Where are these ballots at, Joe?
Right.
Are they Ilhan Omar's ballots?
Yeah. And exactly. And then for Joe, you know, I think Trump could have done a really good job attacking Biden better and more strategically on, oh, you're the face of the Democratic Party. It doesn't feel that way. It feels like Pelosi runs the Democratic Party. And it feels like AOC and Ilhan Omar run the Democratic Party with Biden. And, you know, he brought up the manifesto, but just as like a little morsel of something. But he didn't get into what are you calling the manifesto? Why is it a problem, right? Why is it an issue that AOC and Ilhan Omar and Pelosi are running the Democratic Party, Joe? Everybody fucking knows you're not running the party. Everybody, even the Democrats. No. And they're grateful you're not.
Right. Well, I think Trump touched on it because they were so arguing. You never got the full weight of it. But He's like, when Joe's like, I am the Democratic Party, he's like, well, why didn't you call Portland and Seattle?
Right.
Right. But because they were arguing, it wasn't like the pregnant pause for the answer. It just got glossed over. And then in the exchange, like, it never fully came out. But the truth is like, if Joe was the head of truly was the head of the Democratic Party, yeah, call Portland, call it off right now.
Right.
But, you know, he's not. He's a figurehead, right? We all know this. Actually, You know who's in charge of the Democratic Party still?
Fucking Pelosi?
The Clintons.
Yeah, fair enough.
More than anyone else. You know, and then I'd say the next one with all the power is Pelosi. You know, third would be Schumer.
Right.
And then, you know, fourth it'd be a tie for fourth for like Camilla, Ilhan Omar, Harris, right? Like Camilla Harris, AOC, you name it, right? So,
yeah.
But, you know, when Joe, you know, because of the fiery exchange, no point ever got settled on. There was no talking or, you know, if Trump would have just slowed down a touch, he could have caught Joe in a couple logic loops that he wouldn't have been able to back out of.
Right.
You know what I mean?
100%. Like, hey, Joe, if you're so inclusive, why are you degrading blacks when you're on the radio show and you say, if you don't vote for me, you're not black? Like, hold on. That's a soundbite you want to tell people Joe Biden said. Everyone's heard it.
Right.
Or, hey, Joe, why do you think it's a good idea to bring an ex-stripper rapper that talks about drugging men and stealing their shit onto your interview stage for her to interview you? Like, why are you pandering to these people and not talking to the merits of what's going on in the world, right?
Right.
And that's the whole thing, is it's not about the merit of your policy. It's about who can you pander to get the most votes, which, look, Trump doesn't pander. He doesn't give a shit. He's going to tell you what he thinks. And if he doesn't like what you say, as we saw over 4 years and predominantly last night, that he's just going to kick your ass. And that's pretty polarizing. People either love it or hate it. But the point is, I think people will get pissed about the pandering and treating people like they're stupid, like statements like, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. But until you be quiet and let the conversation evolve, you can't ever make that really intelligent point and catch Joe, like you said, in that logic loop, right? I mean, you just can't. Joe, as a senator, supported a ton of stuff that was anti-black. And then he comes on and says, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. And then he says, white kids are just as smart, or what was it? It was poor white kids are just as smart as black kids or something.
No. Poor kids are like as smart as rich kids, or
poor kids are just as smart as
poor
white
black kids. I don't know. Yeah, it was bizarre. It was bizarre.
But look, all those idiot things that come out of his mouth, you can really grasp onto and drop them intelligently and strategically. But unless the conversation evolves, you're fucked, right? You just end up looking like a bunch of bickering school kids.
Right. The conversation devolved, not evolved, for sure.
100%.
So it's hard to be strategic, and it's hard to grab those morsels and play on it. I mean, how about the old clips of Joe Biden and like marriages between a man and a woman? Explain that to me, Joe.
Right.
Seems to be this clip going around where you saying marriages between a man and a woman. Explain your thought, Joe. Explain your thought.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that'd be hard for him to explain that.
It would. And the only reason it's hard to explain is because, no politician is going to stand up and say, yep, I said that, and my beliefs have evolved. Personally, I'm a Christian, and I believe that marriage is between a man and a woman. But as far as my policies are concerned, I believed that then, and I've evolved now, right? No one wants to say that as a politician. But, I think he wouldn't be able to argue that point because he wouldn't say that his opinion has evolved. And two, it's going to piss everybody off if Trump highlights it. And all these people are going to go, well, fuck, man. Trump's got more women in his cabinet. He's got more of a diverse cabinet than anybody in history. And so he can stand behind those, look, I'm a diverse employer. I bring the best talent, and I do it in my business, and I do it in my cabinet, and I do it in the White House, period. And Joe panders to the black community, and he doesn't believe in marriage only believes in marriage between a man and a woman, unless he's told otherwise by the DNC, which he'll do whatever he's fucking told because he's just a puppy.
Yeah, totally agree, man. All right, what do you think about the Trump paying $750 in tax and how that exchange went down?
I mean, number one, I think the tax stuff is just stupid. And Trump has said from day one he's not disclosing his tax records because he's been audited for 10 years. Right. And then it got leaked, which I'd love to know how it got leaked because it had to come from his accountants or the IRS, which I would argue the IRS.
I would too.
I would argue the IRS. And so, look, the whole I paid $750 in taxes, I think his response was okay. I think what he said was basically like, look, you and Obama created these tax credits and we took advantage of them because you put them there in policy, Joe. Right. Which is the right response of, look, you set the rules of the game and I'm following them. Now show me where, Joe, I didn't do something right, where I broke the law, or, I fraudulently avoided taxes. Well, if I didn't do that and I followed the rules of the game, then why is this a problem? Help me understand why it's a problem.
Yeah, I also think it's a simpler answer than that is, okay, just hear me out here. Hear me out. When they're asking if you paid more, I'd have been like, okay, anybody in the audience, anybody listening, anyone out there, raise your hand when you got taxed at 20, 40% by the federal government, and you're like, no, by golly, I'm a patriot. I'm going to add another 10 to 20%. Someone raise your hand if you did that. Joe, you fucking do that? Joe, let's see your taxes. How much money did you make from Ukraine and fucking China as the VP? Let's see your taxes, right? Like, fucking, someone raise their fucking hand. Tell me.
Yeah, and not only let's see your taxes, but let's see where you showed that you wanted to pay more and go, like you said, all right, end of the year, the IRS can really do a good job if I send them another $10,000, right? They can really make a fucking difference. I'm going to do that.
If I just paid more because I'm a patriot.
Yeah. No, you fucking clown. I pay my tax bill, and if I want to make a difference, I donate to charity, which Trump does. And the whole...
Which is loopholes, by the way.
Exactly. And Trump to say, look, I paid, tens of millions of dollars in taxes. Of course he did. Of course he fucking did. And yes, he did leverage depreciation and tax credits. It's no different than when Amazon went to New York and New York offered them a tax-free haven for, tens of millions of dollars for them to bring their business there. Because what does that business create? It creates jobs. And then, on and on and on, right? But yeah, it's such an ignorant talking point for people to latch onto that don't want to read and understand it. But you're right. Anybody at the end of the year, even people making, just average income, every year they get their tax bill and they're like, fuck, man, how do I avoid this? Oh, it used to be I'll buy a house because I can write off the interest, right? And that's a huge savings. So people would go do that. And you just, let's just extrapolate that to $1 billion business or multi-billion-dollar business.
Totally.
They do it, but do it better and smarter because they have full-time attorneys and tax accountants that do it for them and say,
completely agree.
Structure this deal this way or structure this deal that way, and we'll be in good shape. Great.
Yeah.
But that's the result of a fucking Biden-Obama tax code that they created, period.
Yeah.
And to your point earlier around politicians not wanting to make real change, the IRS is a great example of that, right? Which is
real.
Let's just create more tax code to solve this problem. And now you've got these circular codes where it takes somebody with a PhD to understand how to navigate it, and they don't even know, right? They give best recommendations, and they say we should do this or do that, but it's no different than deciphering any other code where, you're going to hedge your bets, you're going to make the best decision you can. But look, I always go back to, it's no different than managing your house, right? Which is, how are you going to manage your house? How are you going to manage your business? And you're going to do it in the best way you can. And if you're a law-abiding citizen, a patriot, you're going to do it within the bounds of the law.
Right.
If you don't like the rules of the game, change the fucking rules of the game.
Totally agree. Well, if you've ever taken a deduction on your taxes to pay less tax, you're just as guilty as Trump.
Exactly.
Which, what are you guilty of? It's not a crime. It's how the fucking game is played.
Right.
I love how everyone's fucking tax experts, you know what I mean? When every fucking time tax comes up at the end of the year, every fucker who's blaming Trump for taxes is scratching their head. Matter of fact, I think most of them probably hire somebody because they have no clue the fuck is going
on. 100%.
Yeah. For real, right? So
absolutely. I can just see these clowns with like hnrblock.com up on their screen with CNN in the background, like, oh man, I've got to get out of this tax bill, like add a credit, add a deduction, and then like look up at the TV with CNN. They're like, yeah, fuck Trump and his taxes. That's bullshit. He's a crook. Like, create a write-off. Like,
running H&R Block ads, talking about how everyone's fucked up. Yeah, I totally agree.
Dumb.
I totally agree. And I feel like Trump could have pivoted, said, let's see your taxes. Let's see your kids' taxes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And then go into the Beau thing. How much money did Hunter pay on the $3.5 million he got from the Russians? Right.
Did he offer more than his fair share to the IRS? Because by golly, Hunter's a patriot, or did he spend it on hookers and blow?
Exactly. but he missed that opportunity.
Right, right.
He missed the opportunity. And it was low-hanging fruit.
Totally. I thought so too. I'm like, just say, who here has paid more taxes because they feel a sense of patriotism? Who?
Right.
Like, I think I'm the biggest patriot I know, and I'm like, no, you'll get whatever the math says you get.
Right. Right. On the day you're supposed to get it, and no sooner.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Because if they owe you money, they're going to hang on to it and collect interest and pay you years later, right? So
exactly.
I play that game too because that's how they treat me. That's how I treat them. But the reality is look, you don't like the IRS? Fucking change it.
Right.
Change it. And then, the next thing is Biden actually said he was going to raise corporate tax. That's fucking frightening, man. And the fucking numbers didn't add up. He said some shit like, he was going to take in $4 trillion. He's going to spend $4 trillion in his plan or budget or whatever.
And take in one.
Take in $1 trillion more.
Right.
And I think what he doesn't understand is because Trump gave these guys good tax breaks, this is why our economy's humming. You start taxing somebody, the amount of people paying is going down. Like, because look, Apple, for example, took all their money to another country. We're not even going to make our money sit in your country because we fucking pay too much on it. This is why, Joe talked about, like lessening our dependence on China, but you tax the fuck out of these companies. They ain't coming back here.
No. Why would they?
Yeah. And it's like, oh, right there, you lost my fucking vote, motherfucker. Raising taxes doesn't make any sense. How about getting more people to pay taxes or getting less money from a bigger pool to make more, right? Well, am I crazy?
No. Or how about we start learning how to run the government efficiently, and then every dollar that goes into the government doesn't kick out a fraction of a penny because the bureaucracy just fucking wastes it and wastes it and wastes it, right? I mean... How many thousands of people work at the IRS to support a tax code that nobody understands, is totally outdated, and doesn't make any sense, right? Well,
completely agree.
Look, if we put those people into the private sector, right, and we lower the amount of money that we dump into the IRS, which I don't even know what the IRS budget is, but it's got to be astronomical, right? And everybody pays, whatever it is. I mean, there's a ton of strategies on taxes. I like, and I know you have a different thought, but I like the Ted Cruz tax plan. It's a flat 10%, no deductions, no crazy shit. If you make $40,000 or less, you pay no money in taxes. If you pay $40,000 until the end of time, you make $10 trillion, you pay 10%, period. Like, dude, I'll sign up for that. And I fill out my fucking 3x5 card and I go, I made X, here's a check for 10% of that. And you know what I'm going to fucking do with the rest of my money? I'm going to spend it. I'm going to put it in the economy, right? Maybe I'll have more money and I can hire somebody, which means I'm creating a fucking job, right? Oh. I mean, look, and if you're poor, you make less than 40 grand a year, you don't pay any money. Okay. But now the guy that makes $10 trillion is paying 10%, and he's okay because he's not paying a bunch of stupid shit like the 70% tax that AOC is proposing and that Bernie Sanders wants to push through. Like, dude, there isn't a person on the fucking face of the planet that wants to pay 50 to 70% money in taxes, because if they did and they were doing exactly what you said, they would go, okay, here's my extra money at the end of the year. I'm just going to pay it into this global stupid fund.
Right. No one does that.
No one does it. And nor would they.
Dude, imagine this. Like, you ask me for $1 and I give you 30 cents and you're like, but I needed $1. And it's like, no, it's what you get. Why would I work if I'm paying most of my money to why would I be hustling for 30 cents? Seriously, right? Like, and look, I don't even understand it. The fucking politics has been raising taxes, and it's always, we got to raise taxes. Who the fuck thinks it's a good idea that the government needs to fucking make more money off of us?
Dude, nobody.
Nobody, right? Like, you need to stop spending so fucking much. You know what I mean?
Well, that's just it. Look at the Democratic-run states. Take San Francisco, take California, right? Like, hold on. You tax the shit out of everybody, yet you can't manage the Forest Service. The fucking streets of San Francisco are a disaster, and all of your social health programs and the things that you're trying to run in the city far outcost what you're creating in revenue. And like we talked about on the other conversations, man, you can't out-earn bad spending, period.
No.
You can't. And at a certain point, if I make $1 and I actually get, let's say right now I get taxed at 30%. So out of the $1 I make, I take home 70 cents. And then you tell me, hey, this shithole city that you live in and work in, we need more money. So now I'm going to tax you at 60, 70%, but nothing else changes. Like, no, I'm fucking out. I'm not going to live in your shitty state because you can't manage the money I give you. Nothing's improving. The fucking city's on, the whole state's on fucking fire because you can't manage the Forest Service. Like, if I was Trump, I would have beat them up and said, look, Texas has more forest land than California does. When was the last time they had a fucking fire? Right?
Here in North Carolina.
Yeah.
It's called controlled burning. They do it every year all around here.
Right. Because it's proper. And Trump did talk about it. He talked about the other countries that came to him and said, hey, we've got this forest cities and towns. But no one wants to talk about that. It's Trump's fault.
Right.
Global warming.
Global warming. Yeah, it's not some fucking meth head with a gas can and a lighter.
Right.
It's global warming, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't know why that's so fucking easy to believe, global warming.
Yeah. It's stupid. It's just plain ignorant. I mean, Idaho, they're not burning to the fucking ground every year. North Carolina, Texas.
Montana, Wyoming.
Yeah. They're not that far apart when you talk about the world, right? And so to think, oh, well, why is it so bad there? It's bad there because they can't fucking manage their way out of a fucking shoebox.
Yeah. Yeah. Nevada, Arizona. Like, I could name a ton of states, right? Like,
right. Yeah. It's just stupid. And the taxes don't resolve anything. The last time that California was run properly was with Schwarzenegger, right? Bizarrely. And the guy balanced the budget. He was easily really a Democrat, not a Republican, but he was fiscally responsible, right?
Right.
And that's what these current Democrats are just failing to see, which is funny because you and I have talked about this before, is a lot of the Trump policies or sound bites aren't a hell of a lot different than the Obama talking points, right?
Oh, dude. Hey, look, he's got more in common with Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch Bill Clinton's stuff, which I go back and I look at the speeches and what they're saying, Bill Clinton was way more conservative than Trump and Trump's policies.
100%. And he's like the fucking godfather of the DNC now.
Right. Like, you can't even call him a pedophile, right? Like, they'll gangbuster you even though everyone knows he's a fucking dog, right?
Exactly. 100%. So it's just, I think that's the sad part for me is like, man, all of these things are great points that you can just, dude, he could have wrecked Biden on all these points of merit and didn't harness them well.
Yeah. I think the one point he harnessed well was name one law enforcement agency that supports you, Joe.
Dude. Yeah. And he did that well, but why didn't he parlay that into like CHOP, right? Or whatever
totally.
Like, when Joe can't, just ask the question. And when Joe can't answer it, say the reason you can't answer it is because you're supporting CHOP and these other like areas. And now let's talk about the death rates and the crime rates that have happened in there with gun crime and violence, right? I mean, talk about those things. They're valid.
Yeah, look at the CHOP, and the 16-year-old kid was murdered. The family's going to sue, and they're going to win because the city did not provide the basic whatever to protect the minor.
Right.
And the family's going to win millions of dollars, billions, I don't know how much, but tens of millions of dollars, right? They're going to win a lot of money off of that. So where's that money going to come from? Well, let's see. You burned out all the businesses, so you're not taking in any revenue. So you're going to get sued, and you ain't going to have the money. So the federal government's going to pay for that,
right? When you wouldn't even allow us to step in and help,
right? Like I would tell this to I wouldn't be giving federal money to these cities anymore.
Right.
You fucked yourself. Fuck you, let it die. Maybe once it's dead, the people will realize to stop voting for fucking 100 years of Democrats.
Yeah, like you played stupid games, you won a stupid prize, you fucked yourself, now go and fuck yourself.
Right. Or don't. Who gives a fuck?
Or don't. But you know what'll happen, Sleepy Joe, is people will leave those places because they're not safe and they're tired of the nonsense. Right?
Yeah.
And they'll go to Republican-run states where they're safe, right?
Right.
Period.
Right. Yeah,
I mean,
I thought.
It's simple math. It's just cause and effect.
Yeah, and then another thing that I felt like Trump didn't play on well and didn't fucking. If he could have just took a breath, calmed down, and played this well, he'd have fucking won the day. And here's what it was: denounce the alt-right and the KKK.
Yeah.
If I was Trump, I'd have been like, I denounce the alt-right, the KKK, any other extreme organization. Now, the problem we have right now is BLM and Antifa, right? I support Black Lives, but I don't support the organization that's a terrorist organization, part of that, right? So, Joe, denounce BLM and Antifa right now. And once you denounce them, call the cities that are having problems and call them off, Joe, because you said you were the head of the DNC. You have that power. Make that call. Right. Denounce them, make the call. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, dude, that exchange when he was fumbling around denouncing the white supremacists, look, man, just say it. Everyone knows that you're not supporting the white supremacists, Trump. Right? Except for the left that want to beat that drum. But everybody knows it. So just fucking say it. Don't argue semantics with the moderator. Just fucking say it. And then to your point, put the ownership. And then what I would have done, put the ownership on Joe Biden. And then what I would have done is I would have said, oh, the reason you don't want to come out against BLM is because all the money going into BLM goes directly to the DNC.
Correct. It's the same fundraising channel. Yeah. Explain that, Joe. Why does all these funds go right to the DNC? Explain that.
Exactly. And so, Joe, you won't denounce BLM because they're your cash cow. They took in $1.3 billion in the last 120 days. Right. And so you're not going to denounce your cash cow. Is that right, Joe? Right? Easy.
Right. And I would have parlayed that in you've raised $360 million in the past few months, Joe. If you don't win, where's that money go?
Right.
Where's the money go? Where's the money going, Joe?
Yep.
Because you look at AOC, she transferred all that money out of her political fund into an LLC, and for $1 million got hit $30K in fucking the penalty to the election fund. Right. I mean, think about this. If she got $1 million and put it in an LLC, had to pay about a $30K penalty, right? Obama got hit after his second term with a $430,000 penalty to the election committee. How much money did he put in his fucking private account? Where does the election money go?
Yeah.
It goes back to the politicians.
Right.
I personally think this should be a pound for pound. This is a $1 billion deal. You spend what you spend. If you don't spend it, that money goes right to the IRS. All of it. You don't get to fucking keep it.
Yeah, why would you?
This is how these fuckers get rich. They get to keep the money. If I raised $300 million, I'd only spend $2 million, and I'd keep $1 million, and I'd pay the election committee fine on it, which seems to be about $30K a million, which is less than fucking tax.
Right. A shit ton less.
Right.
I mean, none of it makes any sense. But it was an opportunity lost for Trump, where now, instead of the dialogue being why does Biden not denounce BLM, and why is the money going to BLM going directly to the DNC? That's what the conversation should be.
Right.
But now the conversation is, why did Trump fumble his words around white supremacists?
Right. Well, the truth is wait, wasn't the KKK traditionally always Democrats also?
Well, yeah. Right.
So who actually controls the KKK?
Well,
and let's be honest, and I think Trump was kind of right, is where has the alt-right even weighed in lately?
They're not.
It's just a bullshit narrative. I mean, is there actual Nazis, skinheads out there today? I guess. I don't fucking know. But, that's really not the problem in the world right now.
No, very specifically fucking not. The problem in the world right now is Antifa and BLM. Fucking, beating people to death, clubbing cops, throwing weapons, right? And the Democrat government, funding them.
Right. And then, another question I would have for Joe is, your running mate, Camilla, said this movement isn't going away about the Antifa BLM problem. What does she mean by that? Are you guys funding this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, but she's already come out and said that she fully supports BLM. 100%. She's already come out and said that. And the other thing I would have said, tied to, the Antifa being a thought process and not an organization, is I would have called out Soros. And I would have said, Joe, you're obviously not watching the news because this is very much organized. Oh, and specifically, AG Barr has already come out and said that they are a terrorist organization. So, Joe, just because the FBI says one thing doesn't mean that that's what the AG Barr is pushing down. He's the guy that makes the decisions on those things.
Well, I'd have been like, AG Barr called him has made him a terrorist organization. Joe, do you support this terrorist organization?
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't that make you a terrorist? What do you say?
Right. Again.
Yeah, I just felt like because it was such a shit show, there's so many lost opportunities. You know what I mean? And look, I like that Trump isn't truly presidential in the sense that Americans love these fucking flowery speeches that mean nothing.
Mm-hmm.
People eat it up, and it's like, the fucking guy didn't say nothing, but he's presidential, right? So I kind of like that about Trump, but I would not have gave Biden the ammo to say anything bad about me. No, speak, Joe. Go for it.
Right.
Like, because I'm the man. And, like, when you're in that position, you're hard to beat. Prove to me that you could beat me, Joe. Let's see what you got, right? And this isn't, look, and then you could go back to attacking the press tomorrow. But right now, how are you going to knock me off this horse, Joe?
Yeah.
Show me.
Unseat the champ.
Yeah. If it goes to a tie, the champ wins. You got to knock a champ out to take the belt. Knock me out, Joe. Let's see what you got.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't think Joe has that knockout power. And I think that's where Trump went wrong.
It's interesting. Years ago, I was talking to a guy on career development. And, I was getting to the executive level in my career. And he was like, he and I were talking, and he's like, look, Ken, this is what will help you. He goes, you never want to be in a board meeting with C-staff, right? Like CEOs and COOs, and be the yappy poodle that's constantly putting things in that don't move the conversation. He's like, you want to be the fucking pit bull in the corner that's just sitting there flexing, panting, breathing heavy, that looks like a bad motherfucker, that everyone goes, Jesus, I want to know what he's thinking. He looks badder than everybody here. I want to know what that guy has to think. The point being, be intentional about what you say, and less is generally more. Right? Be succinct, be specific. And I feel like Trump, to tie to my analogy, was that yappy dog where you're just like, dude, shut up. You come out with something hard and factual and material, and make it and hit hard. But to your point, like it felt like he was insecure about his position, and so he constantly was just trying to jump in and make a point.
Right.
Where, to your point, you're the champ, dude. Like you're on the top of the fucking hill. They want to get where you are.
Yes.
So come across secure, come across really smart, and say stuff that just shuts it down. And then Joe will be forced to prove his point and talk, and that's where he'll sink himself.
Right.
He didn't need help to sink himself.
No, he doesn't need any help to sink himself.
No.
And you can't sink him. As the champ, you're not sinking him. He's sinking himself. Let him go. Let him go. Let his mind wander. Let him talk about people petting his legs and
right.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I totally agree. Okay, next thing I want to talk about is Chris Wallace, the format, and the questions. Right? What do you think about the questions in general?
I think that it wasn't great. I think the format was okay. I like 2 minutes and 2 minutes and then 2 minutes of what should have been open dialogue. I like that format because I think that the other formats where you only get a minute to respond or 45 seconds doesn't give you the bandwidth or opportunity to really deliver a developed thought, right? So I like that component. And I think then you can focus on, because that's longer duration, right? It's 6 minutes, give or take. I think you can focus on specific points and not like the entire world of options. But I think that the way that Chris Wallace, or the topics that he brought up, I don't think that they were pointed enough in today's day and age. I think SCOTUS was really reasonable, and I think it was valid to bring up. I don't think he brought up anything around social unrest and what's happening in the world, which I think is one of the most critical components today.
Right.
I think the COVID point could have been, questionnaires could have been far better. You know, COVID really was only driven by Biden and Trump, just going after each other. Right, but I don't think there was a great COVID question either.
Right. I felt like the questions were more geared towards what you would see on CNN or MSNBC every day, more than fucking hard questions. I'm tired of these fucking guys. They're just throwing them softballs all the time.
Yeah, they were layups.
Except for fucking Trump, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I felt like the questions were kind of garbage. I feel like there was a couple when Trump, Trump could have said, absolutely denounce any extreme, any terrorist organization, right, to include Antifa. Joe, why don't you do the same? I felt like there was a couple questions that Trump could have teed off on his ass, right? But I felt overall the questions were the same shit you hear on the fucking liberal media all the time. I thought the format was shit.
Really?
Yeah, and here's why. We're just going to fucking argue. The state of the world, once they started arguing, Chris Wallace had no control. That guy has no fucking reason to be a fucking debate moderator. He lacked the fucking any decency, and I also felt like he helped Biden because he let Biden not answer. When Biden said in the beginning, before they even started answering, when Biden was like, I'm not answering the Supreme Court question.
Right.
He didn't push him, but the KKK question, he wants an answer now. I want the answer now, right? So right. I felt like he let Biden slide a little, and he fucking held, Trump to the nth degree. I thought the format, it's good to say a statement, right? Like, yeah, you get 2 minutes to talk on it. I think the rebuttal should be short, 1 minute. Like, fucking say it, we're moving on, right?
Right.
And I felt like Chris Wallace had no fucking control, had no fucking clue what was going on.
No.
Hey, look, I'd have been like, guys, shut the fuck up, Mr. President, all due respect, shut the fuck up.
Right.
Sleepy Joe, with all due respect, shut the fuck up.
Right.
Are we going to have a debate here? Because if you guys are going to do this, if I was Chris Wallace, I'd have just called it.
Yeah, and said this is a train wreck. You obviously, neither of you want to do this properly.
Right. You want to be here or not, right? So I felt like the format was kind of fucked up. I felt like the questions were more lean to, the left. And I felt like Chris Wallace absolutely lacked the ability to run a debate in general.
Well, I think that's what we learned for sure. I mean, Chris Wallace, like you said, he's definitely left-leaning, which is okay, in my opinion, as long as you moderate things appropriately, right?
Make it fair, right?
But it's obvious to me that he doesn't demand the respect that you would expect a moderator to demand, to say, no, these are the rules, now stop, period, right? He obviously didn't have, some people have that authority, right? Just in their persona, where you're like,
right.
All right, like I respect this person, I'm going to listen to what they have to say. Like Chris Wallace did not demonstrate that on any level.
Hey, should have done it on Zoom, and I'd have just hit mute. Boom. Okay, Biden, it's your chance to talk. Trump, I'm muting you. Don't even try. Mute. Hey, it'd have been better in the long run, $50.
Could you imagine Trump? Could you imagine if he got muted, his fucking hair would go on fire, and Joe would just start licking the microphone.
Yeah, I know. It'd be crazy, right? Yeah. Okay, so I'll tell you this is, we didn't talk about coronavirus, right? Here's what I understand is it's obvious Trump wants to open up. And it's obvious Joe wants to close everything down again. And, one thing I was waiting for Trump to say when he's like, hey, Sleepy Joe wants to close everything down, blah, blah, blah. One thing I wanted him to say was COVID has a 99.997 recovery rate. Yes, 200,000 people have died. However, we need to get the healthy back to work. We need to, social distance and mask up the unhealthy, the high risk, but the rest of the people go back to work, do your thing. You know what I mean? Like common sense here. Joe doesn't want to apply common sense, right? It's like, and then, I also felt like he didn't get into the H1N1 numbers.
Right. Yeah.
Like, what was it?
Like a half-hearted attempt to attack the H1N1 and SARS.
Right. And it's like Obama did nothing for way worse shit.
Way worse.
Like how many millions of people died for the H1N1, the swine flu?
Right. And also Trump, he tried, but again, he didn't get into the facts, like you said, around the 99.9 fucking percent. He should have gotten into the facts around, look, Joe, on January X, I shut down travel. And then I shut down this travel. And then I did, and on February, you called me a xenophobe. And he did that. But people Trump could have delivered a timeline really easily to say, you wouldn't have shut this down until April. And the average travel from China to the US is 20,000 people a month. So we would have had 60,000 people potentially infected more coming into the country under your watch. And if you can speak to those facts that are unarguable, well, you can argue anything, but that people can look to, then Biden just further looks like an idiot. But if all you say is, Joe, you called me a xenophobe and you didn't want to shut it down for much longer, which would have made it worse, that's not a good argument. It's not a substantive argument at all. But again, Trump did well, and he continues to do well in it. I mean, and at the end of the day, look, like my kids went back to school this week, right? In-person school. And my wife's like, how do you feel about it? I'm like, I fucking feel great about it, man. Like what's the worst that's going to happen to them? Sure, they could die. They could also get struck by fucking lightning or get hit by a car. And they're far more likely to get hit by a car than they are to fucking die to COVID. So
for real.
Like literally exponentially more likely to get hit by a car. So if I'm not concerned about them getting hit by a car any more than, hey guys, look both ways before you cross the streets, why am I going to freak out about some fucking COVID nonsense where they could catch a cough.
Yeah, 100% agree. And then I would also spelled out, like, look, throughout history, in every pandemic, in the entire history of the world, we never, right, penalized the healthy. Right. We always quarantine the sick.
Right.
And the healthy go about running the world to help the sick. This is what I'm trying to do now. And I would also say, quarantining the healthy is the definition of tyranny. And that's what Joe wants to do.
Well, and it also makes people more susceptible to illness all around.
Right. Herd immunity is the best thing you could do. And no one wants to talk about that. And I feel like that fucking Fauci guy, which Trump can't fire, right? That guy didn't fucking help the administration at all. Like he did say, I remember him saying, mask doesn't help shit. And then, well, last night he tweeted, masks fucking help. And it's like, what the fuck, dude? You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like there's also some people through the whole COVID thing that, that Fauci guy, we shouldn't be listening to that fucking clown show.
No, absolutely not. And look, and I think Trump lost an opportunity on beating up the World Health Organization, right? Which Biden wants to go back into.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, man. That would have made Joe look like shit. They've been wrong on every level.
Every single level, right? Because Bill Gates thinks that he's some fucking mastermind. Look, again, another lost opportunity that's easy. It's just easy. So the COVID response from Biden would have been far worse. But even if, the COVID stuff, I think, is blown way out of proportion.
Since day one. I think Trump did the right thing because of what he was facing and the unknown. So I think he did the right thing. But I also think he's continuing to do the right thing by trying to open up society. Right. And fucking Biden, all they want to do, and it's because it's what their constituents want, is just more relief payments. Just pay me to sit at home and do fucking nothing. Right.
Right? And I'm going to pander to that because they're going to vote for me. Right? Period. And that's what's bullshit.
I've talked to people who made more money getting checks because of COVID than their actual job.
Yeah.
So why would I want to go back to work?
Dude, a buddy of mine in Arizona can't hire help because he's like, look, they make more money sitting at home because they get their unemployment and these additional checks. And they're like, why would I go to work for you when I can make more money doing nothing? Can you pay me under the table? He's like, no.
Yeah, it's tough for legit business to do.
Yeah. But you know what? That's part of where our society is today and where Joe wants to take it, where people just lean on the government for stuff, whatever those things are. Free healthcare, free money, which everybody that knows their ass from a hole in the ground knows it's not free. You and I pay for it every single month.
Every fucking quarter, I'd write a fucking check to these fuckers.
Yeah. And so you see these people sitting around collecting money that I've given them. And I'm like,
totally pissing away the shit I fucking hustled my ass off to get.
Right. Yeah.
How long am I going to support this before it's like, well, fuck it. I'm just not going to do shit.
Right. It's no different than, our welfare system that I wish Trump would have gotten into tied to COVID and just said, look, people run out and have more kids because they make more money, right? People on welfare systems, they take advantage of it. Not all, right? But some, which is tied Joe, and they don't want to work. Why would they work? Because they make more money under you, Joe.
Right.
Just like in the COVID response. So in order for us to get the economy going, we need to not incentivize people to fucking sit on their thumbs. We need to incentivize people to go to fucking work. And by beating this fear-mongering drum of you're going to die, no, you're not. And 200,000 people sounds like a lot of fucking people. And I'm sorry for those that have gone through a death in their family because of it. But you know what? There's 350 million people in this fucking country.
Yeah, it's a drop in the bucket. It's a 3 or 4 decimal equation.
Right. I mean, come on. Right? If we're going to be smart. Look, if you came to me and said, hey, Ken, I've got a really great business proposition, and there's 0.003% that it's going to be successful, but I think it's something we should do, we'd all say, you're a fucking idiot, right? No, we're not going to make that business decision because the success rate is minute. Well,
Right.
all of a sudden we're going to be afraid we're going to die because of something that's, thousands of a percent that's going to happen, which is everything below people that are old with pre-existing conditions. Right?
Right.
So to your point, look, protect the people that are at risk, right? And everybody else, go live your fucking life, right?
Yeah, get back to work, man.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like the economy should have ever shut down. It's if you think you have health issues, you wear a mask, right? And maybe do the social distancing thing. Everyone else, do whatever the fuck you're gonna do,
Right.
The college girl got the COVID. She's had a cold for 3 days. She's already back at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? One of my wife's clients, older guy in his 70s, got it twice. The first time he was down for a week. The second time he's just sick a couple days. Both positive tests. He's got it twice. And he was just like, the second time was not as bad.
Well, and then you can get into the whole false positives.
Don't even get me started there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we know I remember the percent, but what percent were wrong? You know what I mean?
Huge. And then the death rate percentages, right. You tested positive for COVID, but you got run over by a truck. So we're going to call that a COVID death, right?
Right. Well, I think the only person that wasn't counted as a COVID death was George Floyd, right? Right? Everyone else that died before him was a COVID death.
Yeah, and after him.
Right. Even though he had the COVID, did they count him as a COVID death or not? What's the deal?
Yeah, no. Well, they've got the fact checkers from Facebook counting the numbers to make sure it's accurate for us.
Dude, don't even get me started with that Facebook Look, Google, Facebook censorship is modern day book burning. Fucking change my mind.
Dude, we need to do another podcast on the social dilemma.
We ain't even gonna unpack that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back on topic. Debate. What do you think we'll see next for the debates?
Dude, I honestly don't know. I was thinking about that last night, fuck, these people have got to be sitting around scratching their heads, how do we herd these cats, right? How do we get this under control? I'm honestly more thinking about and concerned because I think Kamala Harris I think she's got a strong personality and she knows her shit as far as what she wants to accomplish. I'm more interested in the Pence-Harris debate, to be honest with you. I
am too. I am too.
She was a federal prosecutor. She was, Attorney General of California. She's sharp and she's a strong personality. And Pence is pretty reserved. And so I don't know how he's going to do against her. But I think everybody tied to these debates today is what the fuck are we gonna fucking do? How is this?
Dude, my biggest thing is why do another one? Why even fucking go there?
Right. Why bother?
Who gives a fuck?
Yeah. Why bother?
Yeah, if I was Trump, I'd be like, you know what? Fuck Sleepy Joe and Camilla. I'm not even gonna give them the fucking luxury of stepping on a stage with me. Fuck them.
Right. Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm so blown away. I was literally sitting there last night drinking a beer fuck, what does round 2 look like, man? And I don't even know who the moderator is. Do you know who the moderator is?
Fuck no, I don't know shit about it. I gotta be honest, when I turned off the TV last night, fucking disgusted with high blood pressure. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was like, I ain't fucking watching the rest. I watched because I wanted to see Sleepy Joe, but I didn't get to see Sleepy Joe. I seen this fucking bully Trump.
Yep. Which is exactly what you and I had talked about that we hope he doesn't do.
Right. But anybody voting for Trump doesn't really care. He's a bully. You're truly not voting for Biden.
Right.
Because
Yep.
who the fuck knows? I mean, look, Trump's right. 47 years in fucking government. What has the guy done? You know, he's look in watching the biggest fucking reality TV show in the fucking world is our fucking government, right? And it's on every channel all the time. Nothing is real about reality TV, and it'll always be a shit show. It's the only way to get ratings.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
End of fucking discussion. So it's like, you know, I would tell anybody who's listening to this, turn your fucking TV off. Unfollow all the fucking news organizations. You know what I mean? Look, you know, on my private group, I just put out no more fucking politics because it's all we talk about.
Right.
And it's like, let's just fucking stop. Fucking tune out. Enjoy your life. Like, I missed the beginning of COVID when the world was nice. You know what I mean? And people were spending time with their kids. I missed that, right? So I'm fucking from here on out, no fucking politics. Vote for who the fuck you want to vote for. I give a fuck. I know who I'm going to vote for. I'm not fucking watching again. And that's the way I feel after last night's debate. And that's not the way to heal a country either.
No, and that's the sad part. And I think the vast majority of people are going to feel the same way is, you know, the whole point of a debate is to get the topics on the table and to, more importantly, sway people that haven't made a decision, right? And Trump did nothing yesterday to help his cause. Nothing. He didn't gain anything. If anything, he hurt himself. Because anybody that's in the middle at all, and very few people are undecided, but anybody that's undecided, in my opinion, didn't watch last night and go, yeah, I can get behind that guy, right?
Right.
I can do that. And so it was a fail. It was a fucking failure.
I don't think there was a winner, but I would give an advantage point, maybe, to Biden for just not fucking saying anything racist or talking about pedophile shit.
Totally. 100%. I would do the same thing. If in my opinion, Biden won last night because one, he didn't have any stupid gaffes at all. And two, he didn't look like a bully. So in my mind, he got 2 points, right? Both of which Trump had in his control and power to do that. Trump had within his power to manage both of those things. He easily could have set the stage for Biden to fucking fumble all over himself and create his own problems. And he didn't do that. And then Biden, although Biden did stupid shit like, you know, tell Trump to shut up and called him a clown and, you know, stuff he shouldn't do, but he did. And I get why he was frustrated, whatever, but, you know, Biden's a fucking idiot anyway. And he can't get his thoughts together. But I think it's 2 points for Biden from last night. I do.
I think so too. I don't think Trump got any.
None.
The only point I might give to Trump was the law enforcement comment. Tell us a law enforcement agency to support you, Joe, which none do. It's true.
Right.
And I think the next thing where I would give Trump a point is Biden denied that his son got money from the mayor of Moscow, which is actually fact. You know what I mean? So, but I would give, you know, out of those two facts, I'd give Trump like 1.5 points. But I would give Biden more points for just not totally for not pissing himself and drooling all over. Like,
exactly.
Win for that guy. It's no lose for that guy.
No.
Only reason I watched is because I want to know what crazy shit he was going to say. Like someone petting his fucking legs or, you know what I mean? 60 million people died, right? Like, but I would say this is if he was wearing an earpiece and he was listening, Trump should follow that fucking lead.
Totally. 100%.
Hey, Sleepy Joe, you're going to wear an earpiece, take performance-enhancing drugs? Fucking so am I.
Right. Step it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, level the playing field.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, are all the debates on Fox? Like, what channels are they on? Like, I don't even know, man. And I got to be honest, I was so disgusted last night. Like, it doesn't change my views, you know, but I was still disgusted. Like, is this what it's fucking come to for real? But I guess in today's day and age, you can't expect any different. And if you think fucking, these debates are going to go back to fucking civilized, you're crazy.
Yeah, they're not. I agree. I was so excited to watch last night, right? I was like, man, I can't fucking wait. And here's the reality for me. I'm voting for Trump because I like his policies. I don't like his personality. I don't fucking like the guy. I think he's a dick, like you and I talked about before. But people need to vote on policy, and they didn't get to see any of that last night, and
Right.
That's the shitty part, right?
Right. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And then, look, I feel like these fucking, the political elite class of our country, the Clintons, the Bidens, Kamala Harris, right? These Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, these political elite fuckers have been, fucking Joe held $1 billion to the Ukraine and took back 150, and this has been going on since the beginning of time. Of course, they don't want Trump fucking up their money trains.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like to hear these guys talk about fucking policy, like, well, you don't know anything about politics. I know corruption when I fucking see it. I know that you've been doing this for years, and yet it goes nowhere. Every election, immigration, abortion, taxes, the economy, terrorism. We've been arguing those things for as long as I've been watching fucking TV.
Right.
Can we figure this out and move on from some of this shit?
Right.
How's it going to get better when it's always the same fucking argument? So, having said that, like, I have no faith in fucking Biden or Harris to pull off anything great. Now, if they win, I'm not going to give a fuck. You want to know why? Because the only place they're going to affect my life and the only thing they're going to be able to pull off is raising taxes.
Right.
Right? Because Obama essentially was in the office 8 years and did fucking nothing.
Right.
Right? So,
yeah.
So, although, because Hillary lost, as why everyone hates Trump, the reality is I'm not going to hate Biden because that guy ain't going to do shit, which is the reason why people aren't going to vote for him now.
Well, and it's no different than what I said before, which I hope people listen to, is, look, the presidential race is sexy, it's exciting, it's the big boss, right? But if you really want to affect your life, vote for your mayors, vote for your Congress people, vote for your senators, right?
Yeah. This is one thing COVID should show you. The president's saying open up the country, and the governors are like, no, we're shutting down, fuck you.
Right. And mayors that want to permit BLM and Antifa to fucking run rampant in your cities, and Trump can't do anything about that either, right? So your mayor is important. Your fucking governor is critically important to you. And if you want, look, if Biden were to get elected, look, how do we help mitigate some of the things he wants to do? We do it through Congress and Senate, right?
Right.
I mean, that's the checks and balances, and that's what you need to focus on. So, look, voting is critically important, but in all honesty, the president isn't the most important vote you can cast. It's those other votes that you can cast, because the president's a fucking mouthpiece. He is.
Right. Yeah.
And Trump's been able to get done what he got done because of having control of the Senate for a little while, and for a while Congress. But that's where the important roles are for us as regular Joes that we need to focus on.
Yeah, your governor and mayor has more
impact on your day-to-day life.
Yeah, for real.
So, and a lot of people don't think about that. They just want to focus on the big dog because it's sexy and exciting and it's the guy at the helm. Well, if you're really concerned about making a change in your day-to-day life, you're going to focus on these other ones. Your sheriff, right? Your mayor, your governor.
Right.
Those are important, far more in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, they got more sway over what you do than anything else.
That's right. I mean, the other shit, it is going to be whatever it's going to be. And you can't fucking control it. The taxes are what the taxes are. I'm going to bitch every time I have to write a fucking check to them, and I'm going to bitch and moan about it. And then I'm going to
Amen. Yeah. All right. Hey, let's wrap it up, man. Any final thoughts? Like, you got any final thoughts?
Dude, I just hope we can be big boys and girls and fucking, like you said, I just want to go back to life before all this nonsense and just, fucking love my neighbor, get out and shoot and have a good time and have people respect each other, right?
Yeah, seriously. Well, I think there's serious lack of respect for political offices right now, and all the Democrats are always bashing Trump. What they did is they devalued their own offices, and when they're in power, they're going to demand respect when it was you that started this shit. It's fucking disgusting.
100%. Personal accountability, man. So, let's own it, right? And the change starts with us.
Yeah, totally right.
Yep.
All right, man. Well, thanks, and good talk. like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even know what to say. We're just gonna hit the end button because, like, I'm still kind of in shock of the fucking debacle I watched that people called the presidential race. Like, I'm still in shock. I don't even know what to take of it. It's a fucking shit show.
Yeah, me too.
Well, thanks.
Thanks, brother.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
All right, cheers.